I mean, it's no secret that Han likes to gamble, but if he was really so lucky, why is it that Han Solo owes people money pretty much all the time?
You're listening to
Path of the Jedi
with your host, Rowena Cruz.
All right, welcome to Path of the Jedi, the podcast where Star Wars meets personal development. My name is Rowena Cruz, your host on this incredible journey. And this week we're going to be talking about luck in the Star Wars universe and what it can mean for each and every one of us. But before we get into all of that, let us kick it off like we always do with each episode with news and updates. The first piece of news I'd like to share with you guys is that we are officially celebrating 500 downloads. That's right, 500 downloads here at Path of the Jedi. Quite the milestone. And actually, we hit it last week, and I just wasn't able to catch the episode in time. I had already recorded and uploaded last week's episode by the time I found out that we hit 500 downloads. So we're going to officially celebrate that milestone this week. And in fact, as of this recording, we're actually much closer to hitting 600 downloads. We're only a handful of downloads away, with episode number 1 having over 100 downloads on its own. So yeah, guys, I just want to express my gratitude for your continual support, for listening to the podcast. The numbers and the downloads, those milestones really are validation for me that we're headed in the right direction at the very least, and that you guys are finding value out of the content that we're sharing each week. So please continue to listen, please continue to share, and for those of you guys who are on Apple, don't forget to rate and review. The next piece of news is a big one, folks. I'm super excited for this. After 3 intensive weeks of sitting in front of my laptop, including some very, very late nights, pathofthejedi.com is now officially live. That is right. Our Path of the Jedi blog and website is now live, so you can go visit it, pathofthejedi.com. Now, it's not fully populated yet. I'm slowly populating it with posts and other things, but it is active. It is live. One of my favorite features of the blog is that if you scroll down to the bottom of any page, actually, on the entire website, you'll find the latest episode of the podcast, and you can listen to it from anywhere on the website. So that is an awesome feature. It gives us another option as far as where you can go to consume or listen to Path of the Jedi podcast. For those of you guys who like and prefer to listen to the podcast on a desktop situation as opposed to mobile, this is great news for you. Some other features that you can expect from the website, each podcast episode will actually have its own dedicated post that will include a short blurb about the episode, as well as the episode itself for you to listen to. And then, and this is what I really like, a full transcript of the episode. So now we're broadening our accessibility to our deaf and hard of hearing community. So if you know anybody that falls into that category, now you have the opportunity to share Path of the Jedi with them through our website, pathofthejedi.com. And of course, there's going to be other features. We're going to continue to build out the website and the functionalities and the things that we're going to be sharing with you guys. I'm going to be continuing to post outside of just the podcast episodes, sharing my thoughts, my perspectives with you guys, things that are the insights that I'm kind of learning along the way. There's a recommended reading list where it's a collection of posts that you can simply click on if you're looking for a new book to read, right? And a lot of these books that we've talked about here on the show, as well as other books that I've really enjoyed and have made an impact in my life. So, I mean, so many other things that are coming down the pipeline. So feel free to check it out now. Go explore the site and come back and visit it regularly, because we are going to be posting and releasing lots of new things in the coming weeks, and you are not going to want to miss it. Again, the website is live, pathofthejedi.com. Visit it today.
Classified, really? Me too. Big secret.
And now it's time for the shout out. This week, I'd like to give a shout out to my sisters, Rowena Cruz and Roda Vargas. That's right, Rowena Cruz and Roda Vargas. I want to give a shout out to these two. Well, you might be saying, Ronnie, pretty much all the people you're giving shout outs to are your family. And yes, of course, why wouldn't I? I want to celebrate everybody. And I'm actually going to talk about that a little later in the episode, but I wanted to give a shout out and celebrate these two because they have absolutely been crushing it with our network marketing business. As I mentioned in the past, our company is Yoli, and we've recently gone through a massive rebrand. We've launched a whole brand new category of products that, as far as I know, we are the first to do that as a company in the network marketing space. And they've really, my sisters have really taken this bull by the horns and are taking charge and sharing this stuff with the world. And they're having such great success. And most importantly, they're helping so many people along the way. So if you want to hook up with them, learn about what they're doing and how they're building, I will put their social medias, their Instagrams in the show notes of this episode. Again, I really just want to take the time to celebrate them, congratulate them, give them a shout out for everything that they've done and continue to do. And yeah, it's pretty awesome stuff. I love this business, and it's even better when you get to do it with family and people that you care about. So congratulations again to my sisters, Rowena Cruz and Roda Vargas. And of course, if you have anybody that you'd like to give a shout out to, please message me. Send me an email to info@pathofthejedi.com with the subject heading shout out. And in the body of the email, let me know who you're giving a shout out to and your message. Or you can even send me an MP3 and I could play it here on the next episode. Again, I really want to help you celebrate and recognize somebody who you care about that deserves the recognition, right? That deserves the limelight. So again, email us at info@pathofthejedi.com with the subject heading shout out.
In my experience, there's no such thing as luck.
Luck. That is our topic for this episode. And I got to be honest, when I picked this quote for this episode, I thought it was going to be pretty straightforward, pretty cut and dry, but it turns out there is a lot more to unpack than I had originally expected. So I want to take this from two different angles. Number one, the first angle is believing in luck. And the second angle that I want to talk about is using luck as an excuse. Now, the quote we just heard comes from Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope. And it's that scene on the Millennium Falcon where Obi-Wan is showing Luke for the first time how to use a lightsaber. And if you want to reference it, it's pretty much smack dab in the exact middle of the movie. This scene is really fun for this topic because with Obi-Wan and Han Solo, you pretty much have the embodiment of the exact polar opposites when it comes to the conversation about luck. Obi-Wan clearly does not believe in luck. Han Solo, he pretty much lives his life like luck is the only thing that he can rely on. So which is it? Does luck exist or does luck not exist? Well, let's first iron out which aspect of luck we want to talk about, right? Because the connotations can change depending on context. For our conversation today, I want to talk about luck in the context of chance and randomness and whether or not chance and randomness exists. Now, I've been sitting here for about an hour and a half mulling this topic over and over in my head, and I think I've finally come up with an answer. And the answer is this: luck in the form of chance and randomness does not exist. However, there are some occasions when we can be fooled into thinking that it does. Now, what are those occasions? To explain this, I first got to set the framework of this conversation on the concept of linear time, namely past events and future potential outcomes, looking back or looking forward. Now, if you're on this framework of linear time looking forward towards the future, that's how I can see one could potentially think or be fooled into thinking that luck and chance and randomness exist, because you're pretty much looking and staring at an infinite set of future potentialities. It's like a meteorologist giving a weather forecast, right? Or a gambler at the craps table making a bet. They don't truly have any idea what's going to happen because anything can happen. And even if you use data from the past and statistics, you're still never going to be right 100% of the time. Well, isn't that then an argument supporting the existence of luck and chance and randomness? No, because it isn't actually the future outcomes that are random. It's actually in trying to predict what those future outcomes will be that the illusion of randomness and chance and luck appear. Because there are infinite future potentialities, it's impossible to predict which one will actually come true and which one will actually happen. And because of that, this makes things feel very, very random. But when I look back, right, when I look back at the past circumstances, all the past events in my life, it's pretty difficult for me to feel that any of it was random. Because number one, it already happened. And number two, if it didn't, then we'd be in a totally different place right now, right? Everything in the past had to happen the way it happened, not random at all. It had to happen exactly the way it happened in the sequence that it happened in order for us to end up where we are today. Otherwise, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So I'm with Obi-Wan on this one when he says there's no such thing as luck, right? There's no such thing as luck. There's no such thing as chance and randomness. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. I'd like to think that Obi-Wan picked this lesson up from his old teacher Qui-Gon Jinn, when Qui-Gon would always talk about being mindful of the living force, right? Understanding that things in the past happened the way they were supposed to happen in hindsight can allow us profound understanding in the present moment, in that if we are mindful of the here and now, things don't have to happen to us, but rather they can happen for us, in the sense that they can give us a deeper understanding so that we can make better decisions in the present moment, so that we can in turn then be more purposeful and intentional about creating future outcomes. Now, understand there's a big difference between creating your future outcome and trying to predict it, right? When you try to predict a future outcome, then you're going to run into the illusion of randomness and chance. When you're purposefully and intentionally creating, when you set your sights on a vision and your goal, setting that intention right now will trigger a sequence of events that will ultimately and inevitably lead to that future outcome. Therefore, leaving zero room for chance, for randomness, for luck. Well, what about Han in this conversation? The way people sometimes talk about him makes it seem like luck is his superpower. But is it really, though? I mean, it's no secret that Han likes to gamble. But if he was really so lucky, why is it that Han Solo owes people money pretty much all the time? It's not so much that Han is lucky. I think it's more that he has a much lower aversion to risk than most people. And because of that, he takes more chances. And of course, naturally, when you take more chances, you statistically get more results. And I'm okay with that. Part of the process of achieving your desired outcome is being willing to take chances, is being willing to take intelligent risks. You have to be willing to get out of your comfort zone in order for you to achieve and do things you've never done before. So when Han says things like, "Never tell me the odds," he might think and believe that he's lucky, but what that translates to is that he just has a really high tolerance for risk. Okay, now that we've established that there's no such thing as luck, where does using luck as an excuse come into the conversation? Well, to illustrate this, one of the best examples that I can think of is the movie industry. So since we're talking about Star Wars, let's talk about Star Wars, right? In particular, the latest of the trilogies, episodes 7, 8, and 9. This trilogy introduced us to a handful of relatively new, young, fresh faces, actors that weren't necessarily recognizable prior to these movies. And because of this, we might be prone to say, man, they are lucky to land such a role on Star Wars, right? To have Star Wars be their big break. Understand that behind every big break is countless hours, even years of hard work, of failure, of rejection. Big breaks don't just happen in a vacuum. There is a massive sequence of events, all backed by a tremendous, tremendous amount of effort that ultimately is what leads to a big break. And the same thing can be said about any success. My network marketing career was a 6-year overnight success. So dismissing somebody's success as mere luck is completely unfair to them because you have no idea what went on behind the scenes. You have no idea what they went through to get to where they are. And it's unfair to you because you're basically telling yourself that success is impossible, that you can only achieve your dreams, your goals, your visions if you get lucky. And this is what I was talking about earlier during the shout out portion of the show. Celebrate everybody. Celebrate every success, big and small, because behind all of it is an unseen sequence of events that is oftentimes fraught with trials and tribulations, challenges, hardships that every individual faces that goes unseen. And when you do this, you not only elevate and shine the light on them, but you elevate and shine the light on yourself. In celebrating their success, in celebrating what's possible for them, you're in essence celebrating what's possible for you. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Wow. What do you guys think? Is luck a real thing? Does it exist? Or is it just an illusion, right? Is it just an illusion? Let me know. I want to hear what you guys think. Send us an email to info@pathofthejedi.com with the title of this episode in the subject heading. Leave us a message or send us an MP3. Or, of course, you can reach us on Facebook or Twitter at POTJ Podcast. And of course, remember to visit our new website. Check it out, pathofthejedi.com. And let us know what you think about that. And check this out. This just happened as we were recording this episode. We officially are now over 600 downloads. So we celebrated 500 earlier. We celebrated by the end of this episode 600. So thank you very much, everyone, for tuning in and for continuing to make this podcast, this show, a success. We will catch you next week. Until then, be well, be safe, and as always, may the Force be with you. This podcast is not endorsed by the Walt Disney Company nor Lucasfilm Limited and is intended for entertainment, educational, and informational purposes only. The official Star Wars website can be found at www.starwars.com. Star Wars, all names and sounds and any other Star Wars related items are registered trademarks and or copyrights of Disney and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All original content of this podcast is intellectual property of Path of the Jedi unless otherwise indicated.